Hi everyone, my name is Alexander Pavlovich, and my Capstone project focuses on this core question. What are the motivations and constraints shaping recovery and rebuilding decisions after the Palisades and Eaton fires, and how do these decisions impact long-term wildfire resilience? This topic is very personal to me because I grew up in the Pacific Palisades, and my family lost our home in the January 2025 Palisades fire. Because of this, I used an autoethnographic approach to exploring this project, meaning I am both the researcher and the subject. I relied on three main sources in writing my capstone. I used personal, journal style reflections documenting my own recovery experience, and I also used observational data from community recovery efforts and interactions with other survivors. And lastly, I applied external research, including policy documents, peer reviewed studies, and media reporting. California is a major wildfire problem. It outranks every U.S. state in the number of annual wildfires, and the top 5 costliest wildfires in U.S. history all occurred in California. Research shows that the frequency and severity of wildfires is increasing due to climate change. This means that communities in wildfire-prone areas face ongoing risk, and to reduce that risk, rebuilding efforts would ideally focus on wildfire-resilient design and infrastructure, such as fire-resistant construction materials and landscaping that is spread out and mainly integrates drought-tolerant and fire-resilient vegetation. However, building back resilient communities requires openly acknowledging the role of climate change, but LA's municipal leadership has been silent on connecting the wildfires to climate change. The city of LA previously supported policies requiring new homes to be all electric to meet LA's climate goals, but after the fires, Mayor Karen Bass rolled back on these requirements, allowing rebuilt homes to return to gas if homeowners chose. The city also cut funding for several climate programs since the fires. On the 1-year anniversary of the Palisades fire, I attended a large protest in the Pacific Palisades community, and our district councilwoman Tracy Parks spoke at a rally and made this statement with regards to the fires. She said, "It wasn't an act of nature, it wasn't some storm of the century, and it wasn't climate change, and don't let anybody try to tell you otherwise." This was one of the first times I heard climate change directly mentioned in relation to the fires by one of our local representatives, but it was framed in denial. And this is the kind of messaging that undermines climate awareness and also reduces the momentum for investing in wildfire resilient infrastructure. So why would the city move away from climate-focused rebuilding despite previously supporting it? The answer comes down to financial constraints. The city of LA is facing a roughly $1 billion budget deficit and can't afford to cover the cost of rebuilding thousands of homes, let alone invest in additional resiliency upgrades. At the same time, residents are facing the rebuild gap, which is the difference between insurance payouts and actual rebuild costs. For example, if insurance provides $700,000 but rebuilding costs $1 million, the homeowner has to cover the remaining $300,000 out of pocket on their own. Government and nonprofit aid exists, but they come with major limitations. Applications for funds from nonprofit groups, the city, the state, and FEMA are restricted by really long applications, strict eligibility requirements, and limited timeframes to apply before the funds run out. And many of these programs don't apply to all survivors if they're targeting specific ages, circumstances, and income requirements. These programs are designed to cover short-term needs, not to close the rebuild gap. So this explains the city's position. Political leaders are not necessarily acting out of hypocrisy on climate change, but more so the pressure of financial constraints. Wildfire resilient infrastructure is often treated as an added cost rather than a necessity. And from a political standpoint, advocating for it creates expectations the city can't afford. So making silence or even denial on climate change is a safer option. And while I understand the immense financial pressures involved in building wildfire resilient communities, ignoring or denying climate change still has real world consequences. And as of right now, my family and I are rebuilding our home, and it's not without its delays and constraints. But upon moving back, the concern about our community's vulnerability to the next major fire event will always be in the back of our heads. And even if our communities don't build back to adapt or mitigate to wildfires right away, it's important to keep advocating for them to retroactively implement resilience upgrades.